Saturday, April 17th. So the moon is in Gemini for the early hours. It will be going void of course around lunchtime, and it will be locking into its place of power in Cancer around 4:30 p.m. again Atlantic Standard Time. So the moon, of course, is very happy when she's in her place of power. She rules over Cancer and energy. It's when she's in touch with her emotions and her intuition the most. It's when she recognizes, the boundaries that need to be put in place. It's when she's very much wanting to nurture herself and her loved ones back to a state of emotional safety and security. All kinds of good vibes. But it is going to kind of cool the flames that we've been riding on just a tad. We have to think if the sun is in Aries, all kinds of firepower, and the moon, which is dominantly water, in a water sign in its place of power, we have a balance happening here. And as long as we can balance these energies, we're going to be all right. What happens though, if there's too much fire to that water? It turns into steam. It evaporates. It will literally suck all the water dry and evaporate it into a different form. Now, that can be a good thing because if you've been overly heavy and overly depressive, then, we need to kind of transform that emotional energy into a different form. And sometimes we need to get hot and steamy in order for those types of transitions to happen. But if there's not enough fire and too much water, then, we don't even get a little bubble. We don't get to transform at all. We just kind of stay stagnant. And that could lead to a state of paralysis, not enough bravery or courage to take risks and to move forward. And again, alternatively, if there's too much water and not enough fire, that water puts that fire all the way out. There goes our passion. There goes our steam. There goes our aggression. There goes our bravery. We really want to make sure that we're constantly balancing the energies. So the moon will be making 8 different aspects, a couple of them before it goes void, of course. So the moon's still very much in Gemini, sextiling with Mercury, its ruler, which again, we kind of explored in earlier forecasts that this is blending of energies, a good conversation. The heart, the head is in agreement here. And that's never a bad thing. The moon trines Jupiter, which of course is a good energy as well. That moon in Gemini with all these thoughts and all this new curiosity and new perspective shifts with Jupiter's energy is just growing and expanding past the current concept of what is true, what is possible. The moon conjunct Mars. This is just a fired up emotional tenacity that we have to have in order to make some serious changes in our life. Again, Mars very much in Gemini, right? Very divided between the heart and the head, very much debating 2 different options, 2 different decisions. We're leaning into one now more so than the other. And our heart and our head are now getting online and in touch with one another. So this is a good thing. The moon will be sextiling the sun. This is, the moon and the sun, feminine and masculine divine energies that we all embody, and very much putting the focus on where it is we need to start a new emotional cycle, right? So we've been encouraged for new life lessons, new life contracts, but if your heart and your head don't agree, you're fighting yourself. So now that we're getting on the same page internally, that's when we stand in our power. You can't really stand in your power of wholeness if your heart thinks one thing and your head thinks the other. That's why these energies are so important now, balancing one another, aligning with one another so that we can stand in our true power and align with our new purpose. Then the moon goes VOC, like I said, around noon-ish. And then when it locks into that Cancer energy, that powerful, comfortable energy for the moon to be in, it makes a beautiful sextile with Venus. Again, Venus very much in her power in Taurus. So this is like okay, I understand where changes need to be made, but we have to still stay grounded. We have to stay stable. And that moon in Cancer is like, okay, so where do new boundaries need to be put in place? And Venus in Taurus is like, okay, well, this person is doing nothing but sucking the life out of me. So we should kind of implement a boundary there so that I can see very clearly where they need to stay in their lane so that they're not sucking the life out of me and kind of putting me at a disadvantage. The moon in Cancer is saying, okay, but we want emotional security in our relationships. How are we going to feel good making those kinds of changes? And Venus in Taurus is like, listen, I see my self-worth now. I see what I'm building towards. And that person does not have what it is that I need in them to be strong enough to support me in doing so. That moon in Cancer also wants to nurture, and Venus in Taurus wants us to nurture ourselves. So where the moon is in Cancer, that kind of energy, we tend to want to look outside of ourselves and let's take care of my family, and let's take care of this, and let's take care of that, and nurture them all back to health, all while sacrificing ourselves and our health and our wellness in order to do so. Because taking care of other people gives me value, gives me purpose, gives me worth. Then Venus in Taurus is like, well, okay, you can take care of all the people that you want, but if you're not taking care of yourself, how does that work? You have to be your best self in order to be the best self that you want to be for other people. So why bother exerting all of your energy running on a low and empty cup, trying to make everyone else happy when you need to be filling that cup up for yourself first? So there is a little bit of I'm going to say disagreement in dialogue, but at the same time, they kind of come together. They're blending their energies and they're saying, okay, well, I'll take care of myself in this way so that I can do this for another person. Why? Because they are of value. They are of worth. I'm worth it. They're worth it. And it's going to lead to my overall long-term goal. Some other energies that are taking place here today, Mars trining with Jupiter. So this is an active energy. Again, Mars, very aggressive, going after new passions, going after new desires of the mental game, right? Very much in Gemini, the mental battlefield. Trine is a good aspect with Jupiter that wants us to grow and expand. So we might have had a situation where earlier we were debating two very different choices, two different paths, two different decisions. We might have been leaning into one over the other, and now we're very solid in that. Mercury in Aries, of course, making us very quick to process the pros and cons and make a solid decision so that we can move forward. And now Mars is like, okay, this is great. I made a decision. Now what? And Jupiter's like, okay, well, where can we improve this? Where can we refine this? I mean, we have to plan. We have to be logical here. We can't just stay with this low-level idea. Like, how big can it get? Where's the opportunity for growth? Where's the opportunity to progress, to innovate, to improve? And so this is definitely a lot of mental pressure because we actively now, because we've decided on one path or one choice or one decision, now we want to grow and expand on that. It's a whole lot of brainstorming. Mercury will be sextiling Jupiter as well. So very aggressive in the mental plane. And Mars, of course, wants to take action, wants to see productivity in the growth of our decisions, of our planning, of our logic. And because Mercury is also ruling over communication and kind of wrapping up its time in Aries, we're quick-witted. We're having conversations that are very aggressive, very dominant. So you do have to watch your filter, but at the same time, we're talking about growth. We're talking about the future. We're talking about our plans, right? And we're logically bouncing these ideas off of the people that we see of worth and value to see what they have to say about it. Because that's, collaboration. That's how we get a bigger, brighter picture, and that's how we expand our perspective. Now, Mercury makes an aspect with the true node, which is all about planning for the future, getting on the right path, aligning with our future selves. And then Mercury sextiles Mars. As you can probably imagine, this is a huge pressure in the mental plane, very aggressive, very bold, very quick, very decisive, very much wanting to sort out all the smaller details of the plan in play on our next logical move. And to make matters even more dramatic, Mercury is squaring with Pluto. Huge transformations in the mental plane, huge ideas ideas, you're likely going to have to see a very clear divide between the ideas that just aren't jiving right now, that aren't worth it, that might need to sit on the back burner until there's an appropriate time to pour your energy, your heart, your soul into that, and to see the divide on what ideas actually are worth your time, worth your energy, feel the best, feel aligned, feel in purpose with what it is that you're trying to do. Pluto, of course, wants you to take your power back, wants you to use your power and control for good, and wants you to see the clear line in the sand between what needs to stay and what needs to go. And a lot of that is coming down to our personal belief system.